Hi guys, it's April and I garden down in southeast Nebraska, zone 5B. It is very humid out here, and as you can tell, I'm just out of the shower. But I wanted to make sure I got out here extra early today because I don't have time to do a garden tour tomorrow, so I was going to give it to you a day early because there's a lot of stuff going on out here that I'm kind of excited to show you. So without further ado, my weekly garden tour. Since I am standing right here and I don't normally show you the backside of these gardens, I'm going to show you the backside. So I did plant some onions along the edge of this bed quite a while ago. I can't remember how long. These onions get shaded out a lot and they don't get as much water as a lot of other things in the garden. But the fact that they're still holding on and they're still doing their thing is kind of amazing. And then we have this really pretty calendula. Just hanging out. As you can see, we also have tomatoes popping up everywhere. These are all the bumblebee varieties. But I also have, this is another row 7 Midnight Roma plant. It looks like something might have gotten to that one. It's doing okay, maybe not as well as the one that's in ground, even though the one that's in ground doesn't look the best either. But I really wanted to show you these guys. Look at them. I just thought they were fascinating. These are, let me see if I can find the tag. Hold on. These are the speckled Roman. I can't say I remember exactly where I got these from. I think it was M.I. Gardner, but I'm not positive. The fun part is the path between these two beds is a shortcut I take all the time. But with the pine berries taking over and the spinach leaning and this tomato plant, it's getting harder and harder. But I kind of like it. I like it a lot, actually. I feel like I'm doing something right, especially since all of these tomatoes. This is the Brad's Atomic. Super excited to try it. I can't wait, but I guess I should show you my graveyard. So right now, over in this corner, this is where plants come to die. So the thyme and agastache, it doesn't get hit by any of my sprinkler system, and I don't always remember to water it. So those plants, obviously, have not made it. Some of the pots down here, you saw me move them over here probably about a month ago because these pots don't have the best drainage, so they were waterlogged. And these two pots are from my deck. That is cilantro that has since seen better days. I'm waiting to see if it actually dries up and creates seeds. And then the other pot had a little tomato in it that just decided it didn't want to do what it wanted to do. So this is my plant graveyard. I'm sure we all have one. But I'm gonna try and walk through here without making too much of a mess because I saw this earlier and I wanted to pick it, and that is this strawberry. It's a little white on the backside, but yay! These strawberry plants I planted this year, but they are the strawberry plants that have done the best for me out of the 3 years I've been gardening. So I am loving that. And then we've got some eggplant. I've been harvesting a lot of eggplant. I've probably done like 7 or so far. Just trying out different dishes. This plant looks extremely healthy. That tomato plant, however, does not. But I've just been letting this one go wild just to see what happens. I haven't been babying it at all. Blueberry plant, not so happy blueberry plant, still trying to figure out what's going on there. And these are some more tomatoes that I had on my deck, but for time reasons and ease of getting to, I've moved it down here. And I knew this was a long shot. These are all indeterminate tomatoes. And I put 5 of them in this teeny tiny pot to see if I could force them to be patio tomatoes. And I'm getting some tomatoes. But some of them are not happy at all. This is what happens when you start too many tomatoes inside and you can't give them away and you feel guilty about throwing them away. So you just throw them all into a pot. Let me take you back to the main garden. Here's the front side of these beds. As you can see, these calendula have just taken over the front of this. This is 4 different types. And I've just let them do their thing. But otherwise, the tomatoes are filling in. And I honestly, if the garbanzo makes it, the garbanzo makes it. But I'm taking this as a learning year. I don't really expect much. I also have a pot of bunching onions that I have moved down from my deck. I've moved everything off my deck just because this is the time of year where things get to be a lot, and I need a simpler pattern to take care of all of these things. So I've moved them down here, right next to this butterfly pea that I don't think is ever going to get bigger than that, but here we are. And then you can kind of see all of the in-ground stuff right there. That's the honeyberry. Right next to it is now several pots of flowering basil, and then some sort of flowering basil, and this very sad tomato plant. But I noticed this the other day. I don't know if I can get to it. We've got some tomatoes growing on it. So there's hope we might actually get something off it, even though it looks really, really bad. Same for those pots over there. I can walk over there in a second, but I wanted to show you the squashes. They are phenomenal. This, of course, is a ground cherry, so not a squash, but the rest of them are a winter or summer squash. I've got zucchinis growing there. And then I think I saw a butternut hiding in here. Yes, see? We're gonna have some butternut. I haven't noticed anything on the pumpkins. So that's a pumpkin. That's a pumpkin. And that's a pumpkin. And that pumpkin is acting more like a bush than a vine, which it hasn't really done in the past. So that trellis might be a little wasted, but here we are. Oh my gosh. Look how fat that one is. I might have to harvest that today. And then we have this peach tomato plant, which the bottom part is starting to have some issues. So I've been trying to keep it pruned, but we are starting to ripen fruit. And that can be said about the rest of these tomato plants. This one is the one that has the most fruit on it and is suffering a little bit from some bacteria or fungus. And so once again, I've been trying to pull the dead stuff off, but we might lose this a little earlier than we lose all the other tomato plants. Down here we've got the other ground cherry, and this is the Midnight Roma that I was talking about earlier. We've got some decently big fruit on this one. But this is another plant that, because of the location and how hot and humid this year has been, is suffering a little bit from different kinds of ailments, I guess. Now, I said I would take you to these other pots. And this tomato plant keeps growing, so I'm going to let it do its thing. And we're still seeing how big the peppers on this plant get. And that one back there. Otherwise, we've got our bunching onions that are thriving over here, which I'm happy about. And now for the beds. So the vine is a butternut. I told you I had started some seeds in paper towel of the okra for this spot. Well, they still haven't germinated, but I did plant the seeds and the paper towel in that bed just to see if anything happens. This sunflower, which I'm a little more confident that it's a sunflower now, is still huge, but with all the windstorms we've been having, it's been losing branches like crazy. And I've been trying to keep these peppers open so that they don't get smothered out. So sometimes it's me trimming the branches. But the fact that these look like they were dying 2-3 weeks ago, and the fact that they're that green and still here, gives me hope that even if I just get one pepper off of each of these plants, totally worth it. But I was going to show you why I'm a little bit more confident about what this plant is, because that is the sunflower head that my husband had been telling me about and I couldn't find. So it might be a small common sunflower, but it's still a sunflower. And it was probably planted here by the birds because, let's see, we've got all these sunflowers that I planted. There is a bird feeder right there. And it sometimes has sunflowers in it, so the giant sunflower might be from the birds. We've got all of these sunflowers, and it's still a little patchy in spots, but I think as I continue to plant this out and I continue to let this self-seed, this will grow up more and more. Got all of these pepper plants that are huge. I've been harvesting off of this banana pepper plant. This is the goddess banana pepper, but as you can see, there's still a ton on here. I harvested a pretty big one the other day. It was, I don't know how long it was, but it was massive, and I was surprised it was there because I hadn't been seeing it. But we had the possibility of hail, so I did a massive panic harvest just in case, and I found that pepper, and now I have to decide what to do with it. As you can see over here, it looks like we've got some blushing starting to happen, but some of it might be because of, and rot. So I'm still dealing with that pretty badly. And so I don't think this year is going to be as big of a tomato harvest as last year was, which is okay because I do have a lot of tomato products still canned up that I need to use. I really want my slicer tomatoes so I can make my sandwiches. These are the cherry tomatoes. I've been harvesting from here because, as you can see, they're blushing. And then there's another one buried back there that has blushing fruits, but you have to dig for it because I got lazy with my pruning. So here we are. Take you to the front side. I've got some massive fruits, and I'm hoping I don't lose them before they ripen, but we'll see. This year's harvest, let me tell you, this year's weather, it's all kinds of weird. The potatoes have bounced back and are growing crazy, so I have zero idea when I'm going to come through and harvest these. These beans aren't really doing much of anything but trying to figure out what to do, unfortunately. And these tomatoes have been producing, but we're still trying to wait for things to ripen. We do have some zinnias starting to flower. I'm hoping more zinnia plants pop up because I did not have a lot this year that decided to actually sprout. And the pond has gotten way too much water over the last 2 weeks and is to the brim, and the fountain is actually struggling a little bit. Haven't seen any more flowers, but I'm waiting. More tomatoes, still waiting for them to ripen. That looks like it's got some blushing on it, but of course, I'm still hoping and dreaming. These beans, I think I have to go through. Yes. I've got some beans on there that should probably be pulled off and used or preserved in some way. Carrots, I have started pulling some of the carrots, and they're getting pretty big. Don't think, this is another butternut. I do like my butternuts, but I don't think I've seen anything but that flower. Oh, there's a little something. I think it's a bee. He's doing his thing. Then we've got the hot peppers, which I've also planted some ahi peppers here to see if they come up. Kind of betting they won't, but you never know. They could surprise me. We are getting a lot of jalapenos. I'm waiting for these to get bigger so that I can stuff them. I want some stuffing peppers. We've got more of our Roma style and this nasturtium that's doing fabulous. I'll go around to the zucchini so I can show you, but we've got this pepper plant and this eggplant that's giving me eggplant but doesn't look so great. There must be something in this soil. Peas are dying and drying up, which is fine. Then you have this beast that every single time I do a tour, I like to show off because this impresses me. It's huge. I mean, granted, it is 4 different plants, but it's still huge. I don't know if there's, yeah, you can see one growing there. I'd have to dig for the rest of them. Over here, last time I showed you the corn for the first time. And now I can show you that this corn is getting ready to produce stuff. So hopefully it pollinates itself and I get some popcorn, but if I don't, like I said, I grew this for decoration. It's not as big as a lot of my corn has been in the past. It's probably about 4 feet tall, and a lot of times my corn gets about 6, but this is the first year I haven't done it in the raised bed. And I've never treated any of the soil around this area. It's just whatever I've placed over here and I've let decompose. That is what is feeding these plants right now. But that's okay. They still look really, really good. I'll just give you a brief look at the garden as a whole. Mid-July. So that is the garden as it is now. It is July 13th, and we are starting to get into the ripening of tomatoes. Even if I am hitting a lot of the blossom end rot, I am still getting a few ripe tomatoes that I can use fresh, which is pretty much what I want. I do want to make some salsas and things, so I am hoping for enough tomatoes to do that, but if this year continues the way that it is, I'm okay with trying to get some in bulk from the farmer's market. Pepper year, I think this is the year of the pepper. And I know that each year that tends to happen, there is one thing that does really, really well and you're overwhelmed with that. Last year it was tomatoes for me, so I'm kind of not surprised that this year might be more of a pepper year. I'm okay with that, and it kind of starts to balance itself out that way. But if you want to continue to watch my garden as it grows, I do a tour every week, so subscribe down below, hit the bell, do all the things to get all of the notifications so that you can see when those videos go up or just whatever other nonsense I decide to post. I do try to do shorts sometimes, but I am a little bit more active over on Instagram and on Threads. I like to post photos of what's happening in my garden, what I'm harvesting, and keep a little bit more frequent over on there because it's easier just to do a quick snapshot of what's going on. So feel free to follow me on one or both or all of my platforms. But I do hope to see you again in another video, and I heart you beautiful faces. Bye.